the regulatory and enforcement spotlight. Now, simultaneously, court is also across the India, including Supreme Court, continue to shape the contours of the ED powers, constitutional safeguard, arrest procedure, attachment of properties, and stringent bail regime under Section 45 of PMLA Act. Recent judicial pronouncement and development reflects a growing debate between effective enforcement and protection of individual liberty under Article 14 and 21 of the Constitution. This webinar will combine legal analysis, recent judicial proceedings, regulatory expectation, and practical insights. So it can help professionals, business effectively navigate an increasingly aggressive anti-money laundering enforcement environment. For this program, today we have divided the entire session and we want to discuss. These are the following points: evolution of PMLA and expanding enforcement landscape, reporting entity framework under PMLA, that is very, very important for all professionals, personal liberty of professional and company officers, expanding power of enforcement directorate ED, bail jurisprudence under PMLA, practical defense and risk mitigation strategy. Now, for this program, we have invited our learned panelists who are expert in this area. First, I welcome Amit Khemka ji. He's just joining. He's a reputed lawyer of Delhi NCR for over 39 years, specializing in economic, constitutional, commercial, corporate and white-collar crime, including matter under the Black Money, PMLA, Benami Transaction, Companies Act, Prevention of Money Corruption Act, Income Tax Act. He is prominent legal commentator, having participated panelist over 1,000 debates, 400 radio talks, and he has authored article for leading newspaper magazine. And Mr. Khemka is delivered lecture on professionals such as lawyer, chartered accountant, doctors, and diverse legal topics, and present research before Parliament commentary also. He is also known for landmark cases including restoring Gautam Buddha Nagar district status, cancelling fraudulent Noida allotments, overturning a steep court fee hike in Delhi, lifting the industrial ban in Noida, and securing right for the women prisoner. He is also represented high-profile case such as Kanishka air crash. I welcome Amit ji for this program, and your knowledge and wisdom will definitely, especially your experience in the court, will guide all of us today. Then I will welcome Mr. Ashwini Taneja. He is a distinguished multidisciplinary professional with over 28 years of experience. He is specializing in anti-money laundering, Benami law, Black Money Act, FEMA, litigation, tax litigation, advisory on white-collar crime investigation. He advises and represents clients before multiple forums, including adjudicating authority, applicant tribunal and Benami and PMLA laws, the income tax appellate tribunal, High Court, Supreme Court. He also provides strategic business advisory service to help business operate in legal and structured manner. Mr. Taneja is a founder of Prudent Law Chamber. He previously served as a member of Income Tax Appellate Tribunal, where he authored and after that he authored and co-authored the 2000 judgment and has represented India in United Nations International Tax Conference. He is a fellow member of Indian Council of Arbitration and member of the International Association of Tax Judges, Canada. The most important point which I was mentioning, during his short period as a member of Appellate Tribunal, Ashwini Taneja ji has given 2000 judgment. It is a landmark and remarkable thing. So friends, this is our, then we have our next speaker, Ravi Prakash, who is Associate Partner, Corporate Professional, Corporate Litigation Team. Friends, before I'm giving inaugural things, I just want to inform that on 29th May 2020, our next webinar will be on new labor code along with notified center rules we will organize. Now, friends, before giving to our other panelists, I just want to make this theme proper and identifiable. Now, the point is the PMLA is entered with a serious and legislative objective. The objective was to combat money laundering, terror financing, drug money, organized crime, and global illicit financial flow. No responsible person can oppose these objects on which the PMLA has introduced. Now, what is PMLA today? PMLA remained a focused anti-money laundering legislation, or it has gradually evolved into an extremely wide enforcement mechanism affecting ordinary business, professional directors, and economic decision making itself. The issue is not whether India should have a strong anti-money laundering law. The issue is whether extraordinary power meant for exceptional crime are now becoming part of the normal economic enforcement. That is the biggest questions today. The concern today is not the existence of PMLA. The concern is over expansion, over interpretation, and concentration of enormous discretionary power. This is the main core issue. Economic offense versus money laundering. Every economic offense is not money laundering. Every regulatory violation is not concealment of procedure of crime. Every business failure is not criminality. Today we have some examples: SEBI violation, Companies Act violation, FEMA issue, takeover, open offer, disclosure lapses, procedural default. All these things are there. And in these laws, penalties are there, prosecution is there, adjudication is there, imprisonment provision is there, recovery system is there. So question is, why should every economic or regulatory issue automatically attract the extraordinary harassment of PMLA? PMLA has shifted from criminal law to enforcement ecosystem. Earlier, limited anti-money laundering law. Today, banking, onboarding, investment, NBFC, fintech, startup, crypto, beneficiary ownership, professional certification, cross-border transaction, all are affected. PMLA has gradually moved beyond criminal enforcement and started influencing the entire governance and compliance ecosystem. That is the most and important point. Now, if I see the process itself becoming punishment in the PMLA, in many situations, even before guilt is established, the process becomes itself punishment. Summons, attachment, freezing, reputational damage, lender fear, investor concern, inability to operate business, social stigma. All these things are there, which is a part of the procedure. So a person may ultimately succeeding legally years later, but commercially and psychologically the damage may already be irreversible. That is the important point. Now, second, the power versus limited safeguard. A strong power may be necessary to fight organized laundering and terror financing, which is global. So you require some solid point and solid legal provision. But whenever law grant extraordinary power, safeguard must become equally extraordinary. Power without proportionate safeguard creates fear rather than institutional trust. So power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely. That is the jurisprudence which we have studied in our earlier days. Now, next most important thing is in the PMLA, burden shift on accused. That is another part. Traditionally, criminal law works on principle that the state must prove guilt. Under PMLA, particularly in bail and attachment method, the practical burden often shift heavily onto the accused to prove innocence. Reverse burden, twin bail condition, ECIR secrecy, and attachment before trial. So this is the question of constitutional validity is comes here. Now the most important thing for the professionals, they are under fear because today many professionals genuinely fear the advising structuring certificate of documentation itself may later be interpreted as participant. And that is for CA, CS, advocate, valuer, consultant, merchant banker, compliance officer. They are the part of this. Professional cannot be treated as money launderer merely because they advise structured or certified transaction. There must be clear evidence of knowledge, intent, active concealment, and deliberate participation. And Mr. Khemka and Ashwini Taneja ji both will tell you that how the professionals are treated, and now the reporting authority concept has come. That is very, very serious, which everybody should understand. Next point is data-driven enforcement era. This is the futuristic point. India is moving towards data-driven enforcement architects, FIU alert, STR reporting, PAN Aadhaar linkage, GST MCA banking integration, AI analytics, shell entities, mapping and transaction profiling. Now this is happening, and this is happening in a big way. So the future enforcement trigger may begin not from the complaint, but from the algo pattern recognition by authorities. Next is the compliance fatigue, fear-based governance, which is happening today. And this is, I'm talking about the corporate level. Today, business faces PMLA, FEMA, SEBI, GST, DPTT, sanctions, ESG, beneficiary ownership norms. Are business slowly shifting from commercial decision making to defense compliance culture? That is the most important point. If every serious financial and regulatory issue start becoming a schedule offense trigger, then PMLA risk become a super enforcement law sitting above all other standard. Exception law should remain exceptional. It is not the part of everyday. In international market, we must also recognize that India is not operating in isolation. FATF, Expectation Financial Action Task Force, Cross-Border Enforcement Cooperation, Terror Financing Concern, and Global Anti-Money Laundering Standard require a strong system. But international compliance cannot mean dilution of constitutional fairness in India. That is the main point. So with this is my basic initial point. Now I will request Ashwini Taneja ji to take up the session and tell us your expert knowledge and wisdom about this topic and suggest professional what they should do. And after that, Amit Khemka ji will tell us about the latest case law, importance issue, and other thing. Over to you, Ashwini Taneja ji.
Thank you, Pavanji. You have really very aptly, beautifully summed up the scenario which is happening today, and also set the ball rolling in a very effective manner. So first of all, welcome and thank you very much all the dear participants for joining this program. It is one of the burning topic today. PMLA, that is anti-money laundering law. Its evolution started way back in 1998 on the recommendations of United Nations Security Council because of certain things which were observed at that time, that crime at the international level, such as human trafficking, drugs peddling, terrorism, and few other similar things are happening across the globe. And one of the effective ways to counter it would be to bring out a legislation which curbs the lifeline of the criminals, that is finance. And that is how all the member countries agreed to bring out a robust legislation. India also agreed, and that is how PMLA 2002 came into effect. That is a different thing, that today it is not confined to these 4, 5, or at the most 10 heinous crimes, but the list of the offenses which are covered under PMLA has become as large as possible, that even personal disputes kind of offenses have been roped in. What to say of laws like pollution control laws like Air Pollution Control Act, Water Pollution Control Act, Environment Pollution Control Act, etc., etc., and even personal disputes they done on the basis of cheating and forgery, etc., they have also been covered. So that is how uh, the scope and the canvas has become too large today. Two topics have been assigned to me today, as I understand from the reading of the material. A, what exactly is money laundering, etc.? What are the scope and powers of this department? And B, one new thing which has come up, which all the professionals are going to face very soon, is the obligation of fulfillment of responsibilities of a reporting entity. As NVC is under PMLA, upon chartered accountants, company secretaries, cost accountants, and certain other professionals as well. How convenient they are, how difficult or how onerous, how torturous, and if fulfillment of those obligations does not happen, then what are the possible consequences? That's all we have to discuss today. So I think I will be able to justify my rule in an effective manner if I begin with some fundamentals of PMLA. Because so far we have seen that department like Enforcement Directorate, who was probably the only department in the country who was working throughout during even the Corona period. So one can understand the significance and the role of this department in the eyes of the government, that even Corona period, when everything else was shut, but this department kept working. I agree with that, because to streamline and clean the economy, legislation like this is needed. That is a different thing, that implementation has become now of probably of that magnitude, which was not the object of the legislation. And that is also a different thing, that the way sometimes implementation is done, um, it appears to have lost its objective. Sometimes it appears, because sometimes it appears to have giving more damage than giving any benefit. But whatever it is today, friends, we are professionals. We have to understand the situation prevailing as it is, and then check out the way forward. So therefore, that is a role which has been given to me, that I need to put my thoughts before you about the understanding of this law, and then what are the reporting requirements which have come up on the professionals. I would request the organizers to allow me to share my PPTs, first of all, with regard to that PMLA. Shivam, is it open? Can you please see? My screen is visible?
Yes, it is, sir.
Okay, thank you. So there are many kind of guesses when we talk about what exactly is money laundering law, though it is being implemented all across the country in a very, very effective and fearful manner. But what exactly money laundering is probably is not yet clear to many of us. Therefore, again and again, we need to go back to the books and our basic understanding and try to understand and give it a fresh learning every time we have some encounter with this legislation. I am skipping some of the slides because time allotted to me today is 40, not like even 45 minutes. And this topic sometimes requires even more than 90 minutes deliberations. So I will be taking up only those slides which are very relevant according to me. So somebody was asking me, sir, whether conversion of black into white is also money laundering. Then I asked him that if conversion of black into white is money laundering, then what the tax evasion is? Because in tax also, I mean, tax escaped money is shown as tax paid money. So if we really want to put forth the understanding in terms of colors symbolically, then I would say it will be equivalent to conversion of red into white, where red denotes blood, which in turn crime. So something related to crime is being shown something not related to crime, because white shows purity, in turn innocence. So something derived from some criminal activity, because we are talking about money laundering. So any money or anything valuable in terms of money derived from commission of a crime being presented as something legitimate, not from any criminal activity. Something legal. So something illegal being shown as something legal. Now something here would denote money or money's worth. Now here the question comes, crime means what? Anything illegal? Because illegality has a very, very wide connotation. No, not anything illegal. Something which is part of the list mentioned in the PMLA, list appended with the PMLA, which is called a schedule appended to the PMLA. So there is a schedule giving a list of the offenses. If it finds its mention in that schedule, that offense will be the relevant offense here for the purpose of money laundering. So in simple words, any offense done which is mentioned in the schedule of PMLA, which is called popularly as scheduled offense, and from commission of that offense, if any property or any money is earned, and that is shown or disclosed or demonstrated or claimed as if money has been earned from legitimate sources, not commission of that alleged scheduled offense, shall be the process of money laundering. So there are different questions which are arising before us. What is money laundering exactly? What are the agencies? So Enforcement Directorate has been given the power to implement this law. Then there are, on the attachment side, there are two agencies, that is Adjudicating Authority and Appellate Tribunal. And on the criminal side, we have Special Court. And after that, again, High Court and Supreme Court. So hierarchy is same. Here, for the attachment side, if the attachments are done, the grievances are handled at Appellate Tribunal level, and then High Court or Supreme Court similarly. And if the prosecution happens or arrest happens and then bail or trial has to be done, that happens before the special designated court. And then after that, again, that same hierarchy, High Court and Supreme Court will come into picture. Now, with the help of this presentation, you will be able to understand how the actions happen. And this slide will also give you a hint that why experience with this department becomes torturous at times, because web of actions start taking place. For example, on the left-hand side, what I am trying to mention here is that the initiation of the action will happen on the basis of some action happened by some investigation or agencies or some other agency, whereby who is examining the offense mentioned in the schedule, that is scheduled offense, or some FIR is filed, some complaint is filed, then the action starts. If ED also joins that investigation by recording an ECIR. when the ED records an ECIR, it can take actions into three directions. First action, by way of making provisional attachment of the properties, by passing an immediate order, which is called as provisional attachment order under section 5 of PMLA. Second, by doing investigation or recording of statements, etc., of the people who are accused or involved in money laundering, alleged offense of money laundering. And third, last but not the least, trial of that complaint if filed by the ED before the special court. So then the process of bail, trial, summoning, etc., happens. So in these three directions, ED takes action. And on the other hand, the predicate offense is already taking action before the special court or other investigation agencies. So multi-directional actions happen suddenly. And that is why the experience becomes quite torturous. Under such a scenario, if the accused persons do not carry or possess with them the requisite material which can be used by them for their defense, the exercise becomes unbearable. So in the process, we also need to understand some other definitions. As I said, that if the money is derived from commission of offense, which has been termed under section 21U as proceeds of crime, which means property derived, obtained directly or indirectly by any person as a result of criminal activity relating to a scheduled offense, or the value of any such property, or where such property is taken or held outside the country, then the property equivalent in the value held within the country or abroad. So friends, the issue which I find everybody is facing here is that if there is an unconnected property which is not derived from commission of scheduled offense, can that be treated as proceeds of crime for the purpose of making attachment under section 5 of PMLA? Though my understanding of the subject is no, it should be connected property only or that very property only. No unconnected property can be brought into this definition. If the alleged property remains, alleged proceeds of crime remain within India. However, one judgment came from Honorable Supreme Court in the case of Vijay Madan Lal, which according to me gives the same kind of understanding. But the reading of the ED in most of the cases is that no, it is saying that unconnected property will also come within the definition of proceeds of crime on the concept of value thereof basis. And I believe more than 70% of the litigation happening in the country with respect to attachment matters is because of lack of clarity on this very issue. So moment this issue is cleared, I think 70% of the litigation will be over. Then what is scheduled offense? I mean, as I mentioned, there are schedule is given in the PMLA which has 3 parts. So any offense mentioned in that list is called a scheduled offense. Scheduled offense is the genesis of the offense of money laundering, as there cannot be any offense of money laundering unless and until an offense provided in the schedule of the PMLA has been first committed. Though Honorable Bombay High Court through Honorable Justice Gadkari had taken a different view at that time, but it took around 3-4 years when the matter reached before Honorable Supreme Court. In the case of Vijay Madan Lal, Honorable Supreme Court has given very detailed judgment saying that no, predicate offense is a necessary platform on which the building of PMLA can be built. If that platform is removed, the building has to collapse. Money laundering. PMLA defines the offense of money laundering as whosoever directly or indirectly attempts to indulge or knowingly assists or knowingly is a party or is actually involved in any process or activity connected with the proceeds of crime, including its concealment, possession, acquisition, or use, and projecting or claiming as untainted property shall be guilty of offense of money laundering. So friends, I gave you my understanding of offense of money laundering. Now I am giving the technical definition or the literal definition has been given under section 3 of PMLA as it is. So you can make out why there is a lack of clarity with respect to understanding of this basic concept of money laundering, because the definition is not clarifying as it should be able to clarify in simple words what money laundering is. Secondly, if you see the word and I have put in red color, it's because according to me, projection or claim as untainted property is a mandatory condition. And if this condition is not there, one cannot say money laundering has happened. But by way of this amendment made with effect from 1/8/2019. This explanation has been added, in which you can see after the word or has been used in clause D, if you read, which is creating little vagueness, difficulty, which can be avoided by way of suitable amendment. Then, friends, I'm sorry, something else has come.
You want to show something else?
Yes. Then, friends, if you would kindly see, I have divided into 3 stages. Stage number 1, let me switch off my mobile actually. It will again ring. Stage 1 is commission of the scheduled offense. Stage 2, generation of proceeds of crime. Stage 3, commission of money laundering by placement, layering, integration. So this third stage is integral part of the whole process. If this third stage is removed, there cannot be said to be any offense of money laundering. Similarly, if stage 1 is removed, meaning thereby if there is no scheduled offense, there can be not be offense of money laundering, because the basic trade form is removed. Similarly, stage 2, if offense has happened, but there is no generation of any proceeds of crime in terms of money, then also there cannot be any money laundering. So all the 3 stages are mandatory conditions before an allegation with regard to money laundering can happen. Then I will come straight away to few more things. That first of all, I want to mention that one section is very important, which we all must know. That is section 72A of PMLA, which talks about interministerial coordination committee. The government has set up one interministerial coordination committee so that these laws can be enforced in a joint well-coordinated manner in tandem. Therefore, when we have to talk about compliance of this law, these laws dealing with financial crimes, then we should be clear in mind that we have to take care of all the laws in this regard, whether it is PMLA, it is Benami, Black Money Act, or other tax laws as we are already, or even some corporate laws like such as SEBI, etc. Because unless and until holistical compliance takes place, one cannot say that I am in a safe zone and there cannot be any allegation of non-compliance towards me. Then Pawanji very aptly made a mention of burden of proof. Burden of proof is a very, very popular concept, and it is a cardinal concept of any litigation in the country, that whose burden is what. Under Constitution, burden to prove an allegation is upon the person who is making an allegation. So burden to prove guilty will be the person who is alleging a person to be guilty. Otherwise, he will be deemed to be innocent. But under this law, there is an attempt to reverse this burden. So section 24 says that the burden will be upon the accused. But hold on, the burden has not been fully reversed. Burden has been reversed partially only. Meaning thereby, if the first three, first, first, uh, first 2 stages are proved, that is, scheduled offense has happened, money has been generated, only then the burden will be shifted upon the third person. But practically what is happening is that burden to prove has been shifted and in entirety, even for the stage 1 and stage 2 also. That is why the enforcement of this law is proving to be quite harsh. How can somebody say that he has not done wrong, or he has not done theft, or he has not done fraud, or he has done something like wrong, something like that? Because proving negative is very, very difficult. So therefore, proper understanding of the law and how to deal with this situation becomes mandatory. Then, friends, I would like to make a mention that this, with the help of this pictorial presentation, I just wanted to say that all these laws are working in tandem now. So in isolation, you cannot deal with a law particularly. Suppose in the center, I have put here Benami law because the allegation of the departments and the findings of the agencies is that if something wrong is happening, the chances are Benami must have happened. Then wrapped around it all other laws, whether it is PMLA, income tax, SEBI, Companies Act. For example, there is one provision under Companies Act 2013 with regard to compliance, with regard to significant beneficial owner reporting to ROC, etc., SBO reporting. Now, if the information is given in a manner which is indicating that there is one real shareholder, but the shares are registered in the name of somebody else, or the shareholders are acting in concert with each other in a manner that X becomes the real shareholder and Y becomes the registered shareholder, then it is like, if this information is given in this manner, it is like giving a fodder to the BPU, Benami Provision Department. Yes, like this is Benami shareholding and come and take action. But compliance of SBO thing is very important. So that takes us to a stage where we have to make a clear understanding in our law, in our mind, that it is not merely enough that I do things rightfully. What has to be done or disclose it rightfully, I have to also carry and possess with me the requisite material to show that whatever I am doing is legally right. So mere doing right is not enough. I have to also give something which shows material, putting on the record, which shows that whatever I am doing is right. And this second responsibility makes our task onerous, makes our task in a manner that we should learn these laws. We should learn the carrying of the documentation. And with this, it gives me an opportunity to take to my another topic, which is reporting entity requirement, because that is where exactly the situation has come, where we need to understand the things as they stand. So for that, I will like to open my another PPT that is with regard to a reporting entity requirement, and just give me a second so that I can share that also. I think it is, my screen is visible, Pawan sir, Shivam ji.
Yes, it is, sir.
Yes, it is visible, visible.
Okay, thank you. So, friends, the situation which is happening today is that two notifications came, which has created ripples in our profession. Notifications were dated 3rd May 2023 and 9th May 2023, which created some obligations upon the professional that in so and so situation, you have to maintain so and so record and do the necessary reporting after carrying out due diligence with the FIU, that is Financial Intelligence Unit of the country, FIUIND. Now, what exactly is the situation? Because at that time, the scenario which happened was that whether this will create a scenario in a manner that in professional is being roped in under PMLA. These questions were being asked from me. So my answer was the question that answer is yes or no both. Why no? Because no, they are not covering the professionals under PMLA. They are simply asking that professionals in certain category and certain situations must maintain the record and must provide those records regularly to the department like FIU. And why answer is yes? Because in case those compliances are not done, in that case, not only penalties, etc., can be imposed upon that professional, But another action which can happen is that the enforcement directorate has the capacity to allege that you are hiding some information, so you are party to the process of money laundering in terms of Section 3 of Money Laundering Act. So we have to be careful on this second situation. Therefore, in case any of the professionals is doing any of the activities which is mentioned in these two notifications, then either he should comply with the requirements of reporting entities or not do that activity at all. Otherwise, he is opening the doors of troubles for him, which will prove to be never-ending troubles. Whatever I am saying, I am not trying to be exaggerating at all. I will read the provisions and then you can decide yourself, my dear friends. What is reporting entity? Section 21WA of PMLA defines reporting entity like this. If you see, the last clause is clause D, which talk about a person carrying on a designated business or profession. Now, what is a designated business or profession? For which there are 6-7 categories given, and I am concerned, or we are concerned with at the moment at the 6th category, which says person carrying on such activities. Watch this. Watch. Person carrying on such activities, any other, such other activities as central government may by notification so designated from time to time. Now, by way of these two notifications, so designated from time to time, by way of these two notifications, the government has designated certain kinds of professionals as who will be covered under reporting entity. The first notification given by the government is 3rd May 2023. These are the activities which are mentioned: buying and selling of any immovable property by any relevant person on behalf of client, financial transactions carried out by a relevant person on behalf of his client in the course of his business or profession in relation to the following activities: buying and selling of immovable property, managing of client money, securities or other assets, management of bank savings or securities account, organization of contributions for creation, operation or management of companies, creation, operation or management of companies, limited liability partnerships or trust, and buying and selling of business entities shall be an activity for the purpose of said subsection. Now the next question is, who is client, who is relevant person, and what do you mean by financial transactions? So relevant person means these categories include CA, CS, ICWA. Then who is client issue, such person will fall under this: acting as formation agent of the companies and limited liability partnership, acting as director or secretary of a company, providing a registered office, business address or accommodation, correspondence or administrative address for a company or a limited liability, acting as a trustee of an express trust, acting a nominee shareholder for another person. So kindly see, these activities have to be carefully understood and taken up. Now, these are the exceptions, that if you are doing it, the address is being provided as a tenant, then no problem, with proper lease, no problem. Otherwise, there is a problem. All these obligations will stay around on your head. Then another thing, as an employee, then also there is no problem. They are talking about in the professional category only. Then obligation starts here. Obligations can be divided into 3 parts. First of all, they are saying what should be the structure of your entity, your own entity. Then they will say what are the records to be maintained. Then the provisions are what are the obligations in terms of reporting. Then 4th will be obligation in terms of due diligence. And 5th will be in case of failure, what are the penalties. So I will try to cover them up one by one quickly. First of all, these are the appointment which is to be done of the key personnel whom the department can hold responsible in case of non-reporting. So they say these persons should be responsible for reporting, and in case they do not report, then the department can interact with them. Then what is your policy framework? How would you collect the information? How would you give the information? How the training, etc. has to be given? All these things have to be also put in place. Then documented risk assessment also is to be carried out by the reporting entity. For example, adopting an RBA approach, risk-based approach, how to make assessment, scope of assessment, documentation, what documentations are required to be done, and how the things have to be made available. Then what are the record keeping and standard due diligence to be done? For example, the reporting entity has to carry out the KYC norms by way of authentication of Aadhaar and passport, etc. Verify the identity of its clients and the beneficial owner also. Then reporting entity to maintain and furnish records. Now kindly see, these are the records which are to be maintained. There is an exhaustive list, and I will request the organizers, CP, to please circulate this these PPTs to the participants so that they are not required to do the jottings at the moment and concentrate on what I am sharing. Then providing of information to the director. Director may call for the information under section 11A, 12 or 12AA. Reporting entity to furnish the information as may be specified. So whatever is already specified has to be given suo moto. In addition to that, director may call for further information also, and invoking his powers under section 11A, 12 or 12AA of the PMLA. Then in what circumstances or in what conditions enhanced due diligence, that is EDD, has to be also carried out by the reporting entity for those clients on behalf of whom those financial transactions which I mentioned in the notification, are being carried out. For example, beyond standard KYC, standard client due diligence is not sufficient when ML or TF risks are higher. That is money laundering, etc. risks are higher. Then mandatory EDD triggers must be applied in following scenario. Then what are the EDD measures to be done? What failure to complete EDD, if the failure happens, then what is to be done? Then suspicious transaction report has to be filed with the enforcement directorate by the reporting entity. Then this question is coming to our mind: who is our client? A person who is engaged in a financial transaction or activity with reporting entity, and also include a person on whose behalf the person who engaged in the transaction activities acting. So suppose I know that X is my client ostensibly, but X has been engaged by Y to act like a client before me. Then I have to give reporting about X and Y both. This is one of the onerous obligations. What is beneficial owner? I have to also identify the beneficial owner. I means I as a reporting entity, and also give its information to the department. Now I take a little pause here and ask one question, my dear friends. Is it feasible to identify the beneficial owner unless the client in front of us is willing to do? I think even the investigation agencies combined together of the country cannot do it. And now how can a reporting entity, a professional who does not have any legal powers, can get this information elicited? But this obligation has been put upon the reporting entity. Then these are further requirements or expectations. I am skipping it for want of time. Then my dear friends, we are also required to give reporting of suspicious transactions reports, which I mentioned. The important thing which I would like to mention here. Now, before that, what is transaction? Because we have to report about transaction only. So kindly see, the definition of the word transaction is also quite wide. Means a purchase, sale, loan, pledge, gift, transfer, delivery, or arrangement thereof, and includes opening of an account. So in case I am opening an account on behalf of my client, straight away I am doing an activity covered under these notifications and become a reporting entity. Deposit, withdrawal, etc., use of safety deposit books, entering into any fiduciary relationship, any payment made or received in whole or in part of any contractual or other legal obligations, any payment made in respect of playing games of chance or cash or kind, includes such activities associated with casino, and establishing or creating a legal person or legal arrangement. Kindly see how wide the definition is of the word transaction. Client definition, transaction definition, both I have given before you. Then, obligations about STR are also quite onerous. Reporting mechanism has been prescribed, how it has to be given. then the STRs must be furnished within 7 working days after forming of the suspicion. Then routine reports must be filed every month by the 15th day of succeeding month. Then this is what I wanted to share with you. Strict prohibition on tipping off, meaning thereby the reporting entity cannot inform his client or the beneficial owner that he is filing any reporting with FIU. This is very, very onerous responsibility, that in case the department comes to know that it has already been conveyed that the reporting entity is filing so and so information about the client or client's client, etc., I mean, then he is doing something which is not permitted under the law. Then, my dear friends, penalties, we should know that in case obligations are not fulfilled, then issue warning, director may issue warning to the reporting entity, direct for compliance, direct for sending report, and also impose penalty from 10,000 to rupees 1 lakh. I mean, to the designated director or board or any employee. I mean, so far so good. But if ED also comes into action of involving that reporting entity in terms of Section 3 of PMLA, then I mean it will be also too harsh. Procedure and manner of furnishing information by the reporting entity, it has also been given. And due diligence, etc. I mean, they have explained at length how the due diligence or EDD, that is enhanced due diligence, is to be carried out. That is also something worth reading because it is also quite onerous. The threshold limit of 50,000 rupees only has been given. Beyond that, then how KYC records are to be maintained, etc., etc. This we can skip for the time being. Then, friends, I also examine the global scenario, and globally, I mean, all these things are put upon the reporting entities. But the only difficulty here is that here the list of scheduled offenses is quite wide, which is not there in all the countries. So that is why, and that is how the application of the law here in this country, I mean, appears to be quite harsh. So friends, I mean, within the time frame which has been allotted to me, I have tried my best to cover whatever I could have said. So I will say with one line, I will complete this, that it is better to avoid these activities than choosing to become reporting entity unless you have really geared up yourself to perform all such exhaustive, I mean, sometimes infeasible looking obligations which I have briefly narrated before you. Thank you very much for giving me this.
Thank you, Ashni Bhai. Thank you very much. Now it's a time to understand the practicality, nitty-gritty of the court and what court is discussing, deciding, and how they are doing, and what precaution the professional should take care when they are doing. And because law is law, you can challenge, you can criticize, but you have to follow the law. So when the wisdom will come and jurisprudence will come, then law may change what we are finding difficult. But today it is the law and we have to follow this. So over to Amitji. Your word of wisdom will always helpful to everyone to understand. So you can share your experience, latest case law, latest things, and advice to everyone how they should behave, how should they act. Over to you, sir.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, Pavanji. Good evening, all the participants. Good evening, Ashwini sir. We all know that an environment has been created in last few years in the country where the very name of PMLA or the very name of the ED instills some kind of a fear, instills some kind of a sense that it is not just, it is not fair. I have thought a lot about it. We have been working. I discuss it with Mr. Taneja a lot. I discuss it with other professionals. And I have come to few conclusions which I will like to share with all my brothers and sisters. Number one, see, every government, every executive in past also has always tried to rule with a strong hand. We all remember MISA, we all remember NSA, we all remember Makoka, we all remember TADA. So every government has tried to do that. But the courts were always standing with the people, with the common man, to protect the fundamental rights and the constitutional guarantees. I'm not saying that the courts today are not doing that job. But the exercise of this function of the judiciary is taking a lot of time. I will give you one example. The arrest is something which an agency does when an agency thinks that a particular person is not cooperating with the investigation, or that person is not answering the questions properly, or he is trying to interfere with the investigation in any manner, either by destroying the evidence or taking away the evidence or by influencing the witnesses, or he is a flight risk. But where the agency thinks that a person is cooperating and he's not a flight risk, the agencies don't arrest. So it is the job, it has been the job of the agency only, the investigating agency, whether to arrest or not to arrest. But what was happening in this country, that even where the charge sheet or the complaint was filed without arrest of a person, the courts were sending the accused to jail. The courts, in my opinion, kept on giving wrong judgments on this for many, many decades. In the year 2004, Justice J.D. Kapoor of Delhi High Court gave a judgment, a very reasoned, very well-drafted judgment. In a judgment called Court on its own motion, and said that where a person has not been arrested during investigation, he did not apply for bail, and the court must release such a person only on furnishing of a bond. And there is no question of arrest of such a person. This judgment of Delhi High Court was repeatedly cited before different high courts of the country and before Supreme Court of India. But it took Supreme Court almost 20 years, that is 2 decades, before, in the case of Tarseem Lal, the Supreme Court approved what was written by Delhi High Court in 2004. It was a matter of constitutional protection, the protection of fundamental rights. But the courts took 20 years, the Supreme Court took 20 years to give a judgment that no, if a person has not been arrested during investigation, he or she will be released merely on furnishing of the bond. These kind of, I will say, loose rope given by the court tends to embolden the executive, embolden the investigating agencies from doing incorrect things. I argued a matter, in the High Court in September last year. And the Delhi High Court gave a very beautiful judgment in the case of Director of Enforcement versus Rajesh Agrawal, where the High Court has said that in PMLA, if I'll just explain how the PMLA law has been drafted. For almost everything, there is a time limit prescribed. For everything, they say at every stage there has to be a reason to believe. Like, for example, in attachment under 5.1, reason to believe. Then, if you think that the person is likely to squander the property, reason to believe. Then, in 8.1, where the adjudicating authority issues notice, reason to believe. And then there are time limits prescribed for almost everything. In one way, it was a procedural law. And all of us know, being the students of law, that procedure is called handmaid of justice. Procedure is called just a directory thing. But the Delhi High Court said that no, in case of PMLA, because it affects our fundamental rights, it is a harsh law on the people of the country. Therefore, the procedure is mandatory in case of PMLA. Now, this judgment in last 7-8 months has been cited at multiple judgments by the High Courts, and in different courts it has been cited. And for the first time, I felt that the courts were sensitive. This judgment shows the sensitiveness of the court towards the fact, like Ashwiniji said, that yes, this law is required. Yes, a person who earns money by committing a crime should not get a better footing than me in life. If I am a follower of the law, if I follow the law, if I earn my livelihood honestly, if I don't commit a crime, a person having committed a crime and using that money should not get more benefit. Of course, it is not. It should be done. But for that, certain powers have been given, if I may say, draconian powers, harsh powers have been given to the investigating agencies. Now, those powers are regulated by procedural law. And therefore, the High Court said that procedure in case of PMLA is mandatory. Now, the whole department, the whole enforcement department is after this judgment. They all want it to be changed somehow. They have already gone to Supreme Court, I am told. So the question is that what is it which we are supposed to do? What is it, how we are supposed to handle this law? To my mind, we all are professionals. We all are students of Constitution of India. We must weigh everything, every act, every law on the constitutional parameters, constitutional, test. And as Pavanji was rightly saying, that we must challenge it. If there is something, because it is not only the question of saving our own skin, it is also the question that we as professionals have a duty to safeguard the interests of the common man. I'll give you one more example. We did this case, and this is a real case I'm telling you. And unfortunately, our client died of stress, died of tension created because of the multiple agencies and multiple things. A fraud took place in a cooperative bank. That management there committed some kind of embezzlement. They siphoned off huge amounts of money. Now, this money was channelized by them by taking help of an entry provider. This entry provider had created multiple companies, and by circulating the money through those companies, he converted the crime money for them. And they utilized it. Now I'm telling you how many agencies and how many laws got attracted in this. Embezzlement had taken place in the bank. So the crime was there: forgery, breach of trust, fraud. So the CBI was there. It could be police or CBI or economic offense wing. Then comes, because people had earned without paying tax, so income tax, of course, was there. Now, since it was crime money, PMLA was invoked. So ED came in. Then the fourth agency was SFIO, because it related to the fraudulent transactions under 447 of the Companies Act. So SFIO came. And last but not the least, because this entry provider has used Benami companies, so BPU unit came in. Somebody told me that probably GST also might have come, but we don't know whether GST had done something like that. But I am aware that 5 agencies were certainly after this man. Now you will say, this person had committed an offense. He should have been taken to a task. No doubt. No doubt. But suppose a person has committed 5 offenses in IPC. Will he be hounded by 5 different agencies? It is a very big question staring all of us and the country and the courts and the government, that for the single set of facts, the single set of, maybe the series of crimes have been committed, why shouldn't there be one agency or maybe 2? I can understand taxation has to be different. So the issue arising here is that should we as professionals not put our foot down somewhere and try to invoke the sensitiveness in the system, in the courts, rather than being just, it is not going to help if we are just afraid of it. We have to think as or act as the students of Constitution of India. And the Constitution tells us to weigh every law and every act of the government, of the executive, on constitutional parameters. I'll tell you one very interesting thing which happens. An officer of income tax records a statement under the Income Tax Act, under the powers given under the Income Tax Act for the purpose of adjudication of the income tax or implementation of income tax. Now that statement is picked up by the ED or by BPU, and it is used. If a person has given his statement, let you record his statement under your powers. You have the power. Why are you taking a photocopy from there? Now we are challenging all these things. We want every one of us to challenge this. This should not be allowed anymore. The law of evidence, the Constitution of India, we all know. And we all must weigh every action of the executive, every law on the tests of law of evidence. And let me tell you, law of evidence is not only given in Bharatiya Sanghita or in the Evidence Act. It is the basic law. It is the basic natural law. The evidence has to be proved. Unless the evidence is proved, how can a person be? I am not for a moment saying that a person who has committed an offense, a person who is using the crime money or who is using the tax evaded money should be protected. Why the law is required? Why the process is required? Why the procedure is required? It is required so that when he is ultimately convicted, when he is ultimately put to task, that person or the system has the satisfaction that yes, we followed the law, we committed the, we allowed him the fair opportunity of being heard, allowed him the fair opportunity of defense, and then he has been convicted. He has been found to be guilty. I'll give you one more example. You must have heard, you must have read courts saying that, oh, economic offenses have to be dealt with in a different manner. Why? In the criminal law, you have heinous offenses and even petty offenses. And there are various judgments of the Supreme Court of India that where the offense is up to 7 years of imprisonment, the person should not be arrested as in every case. And in PMLA, unless the offense of money laundering has been committed in respect of arms or drugs or certain heinous predicate offenses or scheduled offenses, the maximum punishment is 7 years. So why should PMLA be not treated at par with all other offenses where the punishment, maximum punishment is 7 years? So under these circumstances, my submission to all my colleagues would be that we must never forget that we are the students of the Constitution of India. We are the students of evidence law. Every action, every document, everything, every law has to pass those tests. Unless we start doing that, we can only be fearful of whatever is happening around us. Recently, J&K High Court in one of the cases has said that appellate tribunal under PMLA has the power to remand. I read that judgment very carefully. Unfortunately, what should have been argued was not even argued. Nobody argued that this law of attachment impacts my fundamental rights Therefore, Section 5(1) says that the PAO, that the provisional attachment order, will be only for a period of 180 days. That is the shelf life of the PAO, which is provided there. Similarly, you must have heard that it is very difficult to get bail under PMLA. Once you are arrested, at the stage of bail, you have to satisfy the court that I have not committed the offense of money laundering. Yes, there is a draconian provision there. Yes, in the case of Nikesh Tarachand Shah, the Supreme Court said that this provision is bad in the law. Yes, in the case of Vijay Madan Lal, unfortunately, they have reopened this issue, although they did not decide it also. So as of now, if a person is arrested by ED, the twin conditions have to be satisfied. But read it with Section 19, which is the power of arrest, which says that the grounds of arrest have to be supplied. Fortunately, now the court says that along with the grounds of arrest, you also have to supply all the material in your possession. So if the grounds of arrest are supplied, what is it which the court has to deal with? The court has to only deal with that whether the grounds make out an offense or not. And as Ashwiniji rightly said, that there is a lot of confusion which has been created in respect of Section 3 itself. Whether that and is there or not, whether it is or and. It is ridiculous that first of all, the legislature thinks it proper to come up after 18 years and say that, oh, treat and as or. And then the courts for last 7 years do not have time to decide it, whether it is and or. Fortunately, in the case of Vijay Madan Lal, the Supreme Court said that yes, this offense is in multiple stages. There are certain foundational facts, such as the commission of the scheduled offense, such as the generation of proceeds of crime, the use of the same proceeds of crime. These are the foundational facts. Then only the question of money laundering will arise. And it is only in respect of the offense of money laundering, this is the last stage, that the reverse burden will apply. Fortunately, Supreme Court did that after 20 years. So the problem is not entirely with the law. Of course, it is with the law. The law has been drafted in a manner in order, maybe not intentionally, but it confuses. And where it confuses, rather than clarifying it, the government decides to fight it out in the law, in the court of law. The court of law decides to keep deciding questions in installments. I gave you the example of people being sent to jail in cases where the charge sheet or the complaint was filed without arrest. For 75 years, 77 years, the courts were sending the people to jail. Now, after 77 years, suddenly the Supreme Court realizes, no, this is not fair. What about those people who were in jail for months together or years together because of such kind of wrong interpretation of law? So my mind says that as students of law, we have this duty to protect the constitutional rights of people. Now, while we do that, it is necessary that we protect ourselves. How do we protect ourselves? I've thought a lot that why is it that in almost every, you find so many cases of financial cases wherever financial offenses are involved, that some chartered accountant or some professional is involved. Why is that so? My mind says, and my experience says, and my pondering says, it is primarily because of not working at arm's length. Treat a client as a client. Don't get personally involved with it. Pavanji, when he was introducing, he said, how is it possible that we don't get involved? Sir, we have to be involved, but we have not to be personally involved. We have to keep the distance between a client and the professional. We have, for example, it is common practice that the professionals give lend their addresses. Please don't lend your addresses to the clients. I have seen professionals keeping digital signatures of the clients. Please don't. So ask the client to read before he signs, before you file it. Keep a buffer time between the preparation and the filing, so that the client has enough time and enough. You can ask the client to please go through it. Now, those are the basic, very, very small things to my mind, which create the problem. Keep a whole track of whatever is transpiring. Like, for example, don't delete the emails. Whatever emails have taken place between you and the client, whatever information he has provided, whatever information you have asked for, all that, keep a track of it. Keep a record of it. That helps. Even raising bills promptly. I mean, you will be surprised that how raising bills, but raising invoices, it shows that you are working for that client, not on personal level, but on professional level. So to my mind, these are the few things which all of us must keep in mind. All of us have to act as the guardians of law, but at the same times, the critics of law as well. So a guardian who is a critic as well is the best combination for every profession. Thank you so much, Pavanji. Thank you for this opportunity. And I would like to listen to you and Ravi now.
Okay.
Thank you.
So thank you, Amitji, for giving very lucid and very important advice as well as laws also. Ravi, your view on PMLA, because you are doing corporate side, SEBI side, and other thing, and in between, PMLA is always coming in between, and sometimes PMLA is there, and you are handling the corporate law, SEBI law. What is your take on this issue?
My first take, and I say this with all candor is that in this webinar, when two stalwarts are speaking, I should have been on the other side and should have listened carefully. That would have added much more to my kitty than rather than speaking on it. I think I completely agree on the point on the point which is raised regarding the delay with which the solutions are coming from the courts. In the time that is lost, there is a great ordeal which is inflicted on people who are not at all required to be implicated in a matter, and certainly not to serve a jail time. What is more significant, and I borrowed it from Khemka sir, I had a discussion with him some time back on this, on the aspect of supplementary charge sheets that are filed. And I'll just give a plenary and then Khemka sir can add on it. I've personally seen, not in one but quite a few matters, that supplementary charge sheets are filed against new people, roping in new people, based on material which was available with the agency at the time of filing the first complaint or the first charge sheet. They did not rope in those people back then, but on the same old material. Years later, those people are brought in. Nothing new at all. Recently, and this is not a new law that has been settled, but recently in Mariam Fasihuddin's case from Supreme Court, Chief Justice decided it. He said that the very objective of filing a supplementary is to bring on new evidence, new facts, especially if you're roping in a new person as an accused. It can't be merely on reappreciation or re-evaluation of existing material that you were seized of already. So that's the problem. And it's a big mess. If you see the pending cases, in the cobweb of it, you would find so many people, either they are languishing or not languishing, but we know the criminal machinery itself, the punishment, rather than the actual conviction. It first of all takes away the reputation, secondly, the liberty, and third, and the most important, is the self-respect. Therefore, these are some of the issues. Probably a 2-hour webinar would not suffice to encapsulate and present all of it. But now coming back to the theme of this program, especially on the reporting entity part, probably it is due to the competitiveness of professional field that professionals do get involved. They extend services that in other jurisdictions, if you talk about Europe or United States, professionals would not. But the competition also, I would feel, a necessary factor due to which professionals they have no option but to go an extra mile and deliver those services. Rarely do they know that by doing so, even if they are doing it in bona fide and they're not complicit with any wrongdoing, hardly they would know what the client is doing if a registered office is located at their address. What business they are doing, whether they are defrauding banks or not, using their limits in a bona fide way or not. But this 2023 notifications, the twin notifications that Ashwini sir mentioned, I read something peculiar in this, and this is also I had brought to the notice of Khemka sir recently. I do not speak with his approval, but I'll just put what I observed from here. Is that the 9th May notification of 2023, it applies with respect to the 5 activities Ashwini sir told, only when those are carried out in the course of business on behalf or for another person. Assume for a moment And I might give example of Khemka sir only. Let's suppose because advocates are not covered, we'll just remove that part. Many a times when we were learning, he used to offer us very kindly that you can use his chamber, do your hearing virtually or otherwise. Well, that usage of a place, when I'm not doing it as a business, would that also tantamount to make me fall under this notification? If I'm rendering my professional services for incorporating a company, not acting as an agent of the promoter, but only rendering my professional advice. And you would know that business setup advisory is one of the largest pool of advisory that every advisor tend to do, who's on the corporate side. Will that make them fall under this notification? The answer is not one of classification. It lies in nuances. In what capacity? And that's where the prophylactic advice given by Khemka sir comes into play. The way you are involved, the way you are working, in capacity of your engagement, all those surrounding circumstances become relevant, whether you would fall in it or not. Certainly, if you are undertaking any of the activities that is aimed to be covered by these two notifications, you must gear up, have systems in place before undertaking these. And if not, do not undertake these. But that's where the problem in law comes. By making one fall under these two notifications, the law is not saying I'm going to go against you if you undertake these works. In fact, these works, by their very nature, have been given an imprimatur by the Ministry of Finance, by these notifications, that these are not illegal works. No automatic malafides can be attributed to these kind of works. Because these are activities, designated activities, permitted activities, but these require enhanced due diligence and they operate within a tight reporting framework and record maintenance. But one interesting question arises. Before these notifications came, there were plethora of prosecutions that have been filed. You would see in a lot of those, these activities are basis of roping in people as accused. So whether, because these are now classified as permitted activities with reporting framework that only came in 2023 effective when these notifications were published, should the persons who have been roped in basis of these classifications that they did these activities, maybe provided registered office services or acted as formation agent or engaged into some deal making, buying and selling of companies, should they not be given the doctrine of beneficent construction and be dropped if this is the only basis? I would now, if I may, Khemka sir, I would request you if you could throw some more light on the supplementary charge sheet aspect in this. In a way, they have legalized these activities are not per se illegal.
Yes, Ravi, the point which Ashwini sir made, probably a deliberate confusion is kept in the law. This is a new thing which we are seeing in the lawmaking now. Like, for example, the definition of Section 3. Once the word "and" is there, you are bringing an amendment to say that "and" will be treated as "or." Why? you must, rather than clarifying the definition, here also you are saying in the course of business. What is that course of business? When will you treat a professional as a businessman? You know, these thin lines which are deliberately kept so that whenever they want to touch you or whenever they want to rope you in, they will rope you in. Wherever they want to, don't want to, they will not. That is why, to my mind, it is necessary to work by the book now. You know, you have to act like by the book. You cannot have mixed kind of a scenario, mixed kind of activities where they will interpret it in what manner. That is not known. And the worry is that what Ashwini showed to you, that what all is to be done if you are a reporting entity. Now, you don't know whether you are a reporting entity or not. You don't believe that you are a reporting entity. Which will be that activity which will be treated as business? Now, when that is the situation, how do you maintain all those records? How do you do that? And then one very important thing which probably Ashwini sir said, that the question is, you are not giving me any powers. You are making me the reporting entity. You are not giving me any powers. I cannot even, that there is a so-called tip off, that if I ask for more information, it may actually amount to tipping off. You are not directly telling your client, you are indirectly telling him. So these kind of confusions which are being created, when this is being done, to my mind, there is only one way. We go strictly by the law. We know what are our jobs and responsibilities. We know what are the constitutional provisions. We test everything on the constitutional principles. And we challenge also. Not only that, if you find that there is something which has been left out confusing, we must approach the court before something wrong happens. Although this is the responsibility of the professional bodies, this is the job of the institutes or the bar councils. Because it is not only the company secretaries or chartered accountants who are coming in. Even a lawyer can. If he is found that he may not be authorized to do any business, but if he is doing it, it is only the question of interpretation. So this situation is such where a proactive approach on the part of the professionals as a body, as a group, and careful approach on the part of the professionals as individuals, and legal approach, the arm's length approach, that has become the necessity today. We can't help it. Especially because the courts are not that sensitive. I have always said that the people should be afraid of the executive, while the executive should be afraid of the courts, which unfortunately is not the situation right now. It is the court should be sensitive about protecting the fundamental and constitutional rights of the people. Court should not jump to the conclusion that whether I am wrong or right. They should go by the book. And we as professionals have a responsibility to make court think twice, ponder twice.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Ravi, you have other point, or I should start question answer?
So we can start question and answers.
Okay. So now I have around 15, 16 questions with me. Ashwini
Oh,
sir is also there. So first I'll take, can a non-executive chairman be sent a prosecution notice under PMLA for signing a balance sheet during COVID presented by auditor on Zoom? Is there a criminal liability?
Khemka sir.
what did you say, sir? Just repeat it.
Okay, so my one request, I have 16 questions with me.
Yes.
So what we'll do, we'll try to
Say
give,
yes or no.
yeah, yes, very short, and then this.
Okay. Okay.
Can a non-executive chairman be sent a prosecution notice under PMLA for signing a balance sheet during COVID presented by auditors on Zoom? Is there a criminal liability?
Can a non-executive chairman sign the balance sheet?
He can. He
But
can.
why would a non-executive person sign a balance sheet, sir?
So any two directors, any three directors, there is a concept in that any director can sign.
But
No,
then I
yeah.
feel then he has to be responsible.
So he's asking COVID and Zoom call, another thing. So, friend, Zoom call or COVID is not any.
You have to go through the contents of it and you have to own it.
Yes.
If you are signing it, then whether it is COVID or it is Zoom or it is anything else, you have to be responsible.
If something is wrong.
But I wonder why a non-executive person would ever sign it.
Yeah. Section 3 says the offense is being connected with proceed of crime. Proceed or crime is defined with reference to a scheduled offense. If the scheduled offense is still under trial, neither convicted nor acquitted, does Section 3 have an existing object to operate on, or is ED attaching and prosecuting on the basis of legal fiction that proceed exists before the predicate offense is established?
So the very purpose of attachment is to protect, allow not to allow the squandering of the proceeds of crime. So it has to be done before the offense is actually proved. However, my view is that when it comes to the prosecution under PMLA, it should wait for the results of the predicate offense trial. The prosecution should not be even, they should not even begin with it. They should first see to it that the trial under the scheduled offense is finished, and then only the trial should be started.
Okay, okay. Now,
And one or two high courts have even said that.
Okay. Ashwini ji, PMLA was originally enacted to combat money laundering, terror financing, organized crime. Has the law today expanded beyond the original purpose?
Actually, this is one of the fantastic questions which, though I wanted to deal with in the beginning, but since time constraint was there, I had skipped the slide of chimpanzees being attached, a distillery unit being attached for water pollution and all that. The unfortunate part which I see in enforcement of this law is it is also dealing with those laws which this such a harsh law should not deal. I mean, even cheating, forgery, private disputes. So that is the problem that it is way beyond expanding, and that is why it may happen this since concentration span may have reduced. The real wrongdoers of the heinous crimes may have escaped, and for the small wrongs, people are being crushed. It is possible.
Okay, okay. Are we still using PMLA as an exceptional anti-money laundering legislation, or it is gradually becoming a general economic enforcement tool?
The question itself gives the answer, and that is what I explained in the previous question.
Okay, okay,
It should be limited to the first part.
okay. Where should we draw the line between economic offense, regulatory default, business failure, and actual money laundering? This, what do you say on
I
this?
will take 30 seconds to explain one situation. A large size corporate borrower takes loans,
Mhm.
it defaults. Now, business is a name of success and failure both. The non-repayment could be due to genuine reasons of collapsing the business or could be because of siphoning off. Now, because of this knee-jerk reactions and unthoughtful actions, sometimes it happens that both kind of situations are mixed together. And that is where the harshness is arising. I think all efforts must be paid to must be made by the investigation agencies to distinguish and deal with both kind of situations separately.
I'll just add one more thing.
Yeah.
A a loan defaulter who has serviced an account for 30 years, having done some technical wrongs in last 1 or 2 years before it became NPA, based on those 2 years acts, he is branded not only as a criminal but also as a launderer,
Yes.
and without bothering about the fact that after all he is enterprise personified. You are not only you are branding a enterprising person as a criminal. So this has nobody is taking this into account.
Okay. Okay. Now, should every schedule offense automatically become PMLA matter, Ashwini?
Because if scheduled offense also is giving right to generation of proceeds of crime, then it is bound to become PLA matter so long as that scheduled offense survives, is proved, conviction happens, and generation of proceeds is proved. So naturally, all those things will come that the money has been proved, claimed to be untainted money, etc., etc. So that situation, I mean, that scenario situation is tough
Okay.
in eyes of law.
Okay. Now, this is a question to Ravi and Amitji both. If multiple law already provided penalties, prosecution, recovery mechanism, then why should every economic or financial issue additionally attract the extraordinary rigorous PMLA acts? Example, takeover code. Example of Companies Act. Example, some other law, which is prescribing penalty, and then again you are doing this. So, Amitji and Ravi.
Yes, I entirely agree with you that it should be in those exceptional cases where somebody is actually trying to use the crime money and trying to to strengthen himself with the help of the crime money, then only it should not be the technical use or possession or something, it should be where you can have a actual case. Like for example, there is a smuggler who has earned money out of smuggling, and now he's put it into the real estate and he has become a real estate baron. Now that is a case which should be covered genuinely under the PMLA. But what about the businessman who has been doing business? Like I gave the example, he has just defaulted in money. His all property is taken. His even his everything is taken. So this is not done.
Okay. Okay. Ravi, you want to say anything about SEBI law related thing, and then PML is also there?
Yes, well, not all provisions, not all defaults will automatically trigger PMLA. But in my opinion, open offer violations or FUTP insider trading, these three offenses would
So
qualify.
open offer, but Ravi, your FUTP is a really crime, something you are doing wrong.
Yes.
Open offer, which is prescribed a specific law, that if
Yes.
you have violated open offer, you have to either give open offer or you have to pay penalty. Now
Yes.
both things are there. Why PML is this?
Because that's investor money. That is a proceed that you have retained. It was ought to go to investors. You did
No,
not.
but for that I'm giving penalty. I'm giving open offer. That is a
Calling
cost.
it a different offense. Is a separate offense.
Okay. Sir,
Pavanji, the thing is, if by use of proceeds of crime you have strengthened yourself or someone else, then of course it is PMLA. Okay, if it is giving you a better positioning than an honest person, then it is PMLA.
okay, now my counter question, sir. Suppose this is the PMLA, then why single violation of open offer it has not gone to PMLA?
Sir, the thing is, I told you that once the agency's job or agency's actions are not strictly being reviewed judicially, this kind of a thing is bound to happen.
Okay. Actually, there's some constitutional issue. India undoubtedly needs a strong anti-money laundering enforcement, but how do you balance enforcement power with constitutional safeguard and individual liberty?
There are two, three things which must be a no-go zone. I think first of all, there is retrospectivity, fashion, and cravings. Now they should be reduced. B, vagueness or disputes should be immediately, removed, and all efforts be made by the parliament as well as judiciary. For example, now on retrospectivity part, there is Ganpati deal judgment by Honorable Justice N.V. Ramanna, then recalling comes by Honorable Justice D.Y. Chandrachud. Now, one judgment in one case, they are following it, other case, they are not following it. So all those things are really troubling a lot, which should not happen at all. And because of this, now, for example, then Kokila Bain judgment come, in which they said, no, recalling cannot happen, review cannot happen like this, but review is still happening by the Honorable Tribunal. So all these things are creating, then vagueness in the law should be removed. For example, few instances which we could go on, there are many more such examples. Even definition of proceeds of crime, definition of this section 24, scope and definition of section 3, and unconnected property can be attached or not. If the clarity is brought whether unconnected property can be attached or not, I am sure at least 70% of the litigation in our country with respect to the attachment matters done under PMLA shall be immediately eliminated. So I think these are the safeguards which I think must be taken.
Okay.
And one more thing which Ashwini always says, that when it is the government which is fighting in the court whether it is retrospective or not, why can't government come with an amendment? Government should clarify it. Why is the government not clarifying? Rather than fighting a litigation for 10 years, you clarify what do you want.
Okay.
And one thing more I would like, because this is very essential, two departments of central government taking two contrary stands even on facts and legal position both. Central Warehouse Corporation of Supreme Court judgment in the name of CWC, that is Central Warehouse Corporation, clarifies this position. It should not be done. Still being done. So it is unnecessary multiplying the litigation, which can be reduced.
Okay. Whether a CA practitioner advising the client on matters such as GST, income tax, etc., which may help the client to reduce statutory liability in the longer run, will it amount to tax evasion? And
So it will depend upon, in the name of tax planning, whether we are giving the CA or whosoever profession is giving tax planning or techniques to tax evade the tax in by some unfair means.
Actually,
In the legal framework, all right, at arm's length principle. Becoming party to some kind of tax evasion exercise, be ready for the roller coaster ride.
पवन जी, एक छोटा सा एग्जांपल दे रहा हूं. एक बंदा मेरे पास आता है, कहता है जी ये मैं अभी ना मर्डर करने जा रहा हूं, बचा लोगे ना? मैं कहता हूं जा, अभी कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. और दूसरा बंदा आता है, वो मर्डर करके आता है और कहता है जी ये चाकू मैंने मर्डर कराया है जी, ये चाकू है मेरा, कि मेरे को सरेंडर करा दो. मैं उसको कोर्ट में खड़ा होकर सेव करता हूं. अगर आप उस क्राइम के पहली सिचुएशन में मैं उस क्राइम का हिस्सा हूं, दूसरी सिचुएशन में मैं प्रोफेशनल हूं.
ठीक है.
अगर ऐसा है, ये टेस्ट है, इस टेस्ट को अपने दिमाग में रख ले हर प्रोफेशनल, और फिर करे काम.
ठीक है. Okay. In the case of someone received under section 52 and 53 of the PMLA from ED officials, the ED officials are pressurizing the director to repay the loan received from XYZ company.
This is straight away case of misuse of powers by the enforcement directorate granted to them under PMLA. They are not settlement agency in any manner.
Okay. In a non-CA giving his address as registered office to a company which is later found to be involved in money laundering, what are the legal implications for him simply for sharing his address? अब आपका केस बताइए अमित जी, मर्डर से पहले, मर्डर के बाद.
Sir, the issue here is that it can't be just one circumstance, of course, which can make him, a culprit in this matter. Okay. However, the onus may actually lie very heavily upon him to show that it was an arm's length transaction. And that is why the documentation, Ashwiniji was very clear that you must have all the material to, if you are giving, then you must have a document of it. You must be getting rent, or what were the terms? Everything has to be very clear about it. So if that is done, you have nothing to worry about. But if it is not done, if the documents are sketchy or they are not there, then there will be a lot to be explained. And there can be a case where you may be treated as a co-accused.
Okay. Has recent jurisprudence adequately balanced national financial integrity with constitutional freedoms?
Why should we give a straight answer? We are only talking about that only for last 1.5
ठीक है, ठीक है. At what point does professional advisory become a allied participant? I think this is you have given right
Already
answer.
covered.
Okay. Can professional be exposed to liability merely because they advise certified, structured, or documented a transaction? That is also given answer. That involvement has to take. The level of due diligence is realistically expected from professional today.
Very high.
Ravi?
Very high level of due diligence.
The law itself says enhanced due diligence. That's the marginal note of the provision.
And
Okay.
I'm adding
EDD.
very highly enhanced.
EDD.
EDD.
वो तो ईडी है, कह रहे आपके सामने डी और लगेगा.
Enhanced.
हाँ, आपके साथ डी और लगेगा. हम तो खाली ईडी हैं, आपके साथ डी और ऐड कर रहे हैं.
Okay.
Ashwani sir had covered what they cannot do club together.
They are asking us to do.
How can professionals protect themselves from retrospective interpretation of knowledge or intent? Now, question is, somebody will do money laundering. How do you know today, and how you can report?
Paper trail, your documentation,
No,
everything.
that is my protection, future protection. But I have to report. So how can I report? It means, I suppose there is a person who is setting up business. So every day he's setting up business. How do you know that out of this 100, 200, 500?
Ashwini gives a very good example of it. A person comes to you who, on the face of it, you can see that this person cannot own a property worth 20 crores. His clothes, his vehicle, his everything. Then you enter into, and he brings one more person who looks like a rich person. The deal is done by that rich person. And then you say, sir, how would I know that this is a Benami property? No, you know from the circumstances, you know from the situation. It is that situation only that you can't wriggle out. After all, if you know and if you don't know. Now, if you don't know, then your paper trail, your material, your keeping the documents properly will come to your rescue. But if you know, then nothing will come to your rescue.
Okay. Okay. So I think that we have crossed time now. So before closing, I just want to take comments from Ravi, then Amitji, and then Ashwiniji about the overall law. What are your view in 30 seconds, 40 seconds? Ravi.
So law does not proscribe from taking these activities. In fact, it says that it can be done, but you do when you are prepared. You do when you can report it, record it, report it, and you can retrieve it when the information is being called upon. For the era when this notification was not there, I think all those who have been roped in based on these classifications, I think it should be reconsidered seriously.
Okay. Amitji, I missed one question, which is very important. While incorporating for LLP or company, how we are supposed to be reporting entity? Can you please throw some light on this?
Ashwini ji.
Actually, as a professional, there is no problem. I have started understanding and visualizing the principles of life with the help of these laws. Suppose you are a professional, behave like a professional, no problem. When I adopt somebody else's role, for example, I will say, okay, you forget about it. I will do it in my name and you keep running the company. I will incorporate the company for you in my name. You are adopting a different role, which neither the Almighty nor the government has given to you. Then be a donkey. That ED में last वाला D donkey है. वो पता लग जाएगा आज नहीं तो कल.
Okay.
वो नहीं बनना है. अच्छा,
Very
अब आप
wonderful. Very wonderfully put.
Okay. Got it. Amit ji, your view on the 30-second.
Arm's length,
Okay.
constitution, evidence, law.
Okay.
We must not only read these carefully, we must adhere to them. We must fight out whenever we feel that something is not right. Professional bodies have to take cognizance of wherever the professional is being wrongly targeted. Okay. It has to be a collective action on the part of the professional bodies, and which at the moment is lacking. Earlier, at least legal bodies used to fight. Today, even lawyers are not fighting. You can see that I don't want to repeat, or don't want to the recent comments by the courts. The professional bodies should be very, very sensitive about that. But even the legal bodies are not doing those things. That is the cause of worry.
Okay. Mr. Mohit, I have Ashwini ji has given answer to the query that the ED officer cannot pressurize like this. Okay, Ashwini sir, your view.
Sir, I will like to give my final views divided into two parameters. One is philosophical parameter, other is a legal parameter. Legal or practical. Philosophical parameter, I will say like that. Somebody asked me yesterday, ki, sir, one of my clients have done, or rather I have done some transaction with a third party. That third party has been roped in by the ED under PMLA provisions and calling the profit earned by him as tainted money. So in this process, I may have also earned some profit, but I did not know whether he was wrong or right. I did my best, etc., etc. He tried to explain. So can my profits, which are infused in my P&L account, that can also be treated as tainted? I said, before I answer to you in terms of legality, close your eyes, place your palm on your heart, and ask yourself, is any taint involved in the money which you have earned? If the answer is yes, you are definitely going to be roped into PMLA. If the answer is going to be bold no, don't worry. Even if they're roping, people like us, Amit ji, Pawan ji, Ravi ji, we are all here to protect you from any wrongdoings by any officer. Don't worry about it. This is around philosophical part. Taking it further on practical part also, I'll convert it into practical terms now. Two responsibilities are there upon us now. A, we have to do the things in a rightful manner, whatever law prescribes. We have to know what the law is. We cannot play ignorance of the law. Second is a more onerous responsibility. I have to acquire, possess and carry enough material in my defense that I can prove I am innocent whenever called upon to do so. It could be during my entire lifetime also, the length of period. Thank you very much.
तो जब मिल्क दही जमाना होता है तो उसमें जो लगाते हैं उसके बेसिस पे जब दही बन जाता है तो वो पूरा दही खरा होता है.
Something like that.
Okay. So thank you very much. Thank you. So I was just thinking that when we are talking about anything, any law, we are seeing that how the PMLA will be in 2030 segment. So I was studying that AI surveillance, predictive enforcement, integrated database, digital currency tracking, tightening professional accountability, privacy debate, real-time monitoring, all these things will be the part of the future. But my closing comment is that India certainly needs a strong anti-money laundering law. That is clear after discussion with all panelists. But strong law must also remain a just law. PMLA should target genuine launderer, organized crime and terror financing. not create fear around legitimate business activities, professional advisory, or ordinary economic decision making like small violation, small compliance, and other things. The ultimate success of PMLA will not be measured merely by attaching figures or arrest, that how much you have arrested, how much money you have attached. It will be measured by whether India can build a system that simultaneously protect national financial literacy, integrity, constitutional liberty, and professional independence, and also ease of legitimate business. In my opinion, at last, the purpose of PMLA will remain, and it should be, fight laundering, not fighting legitimate enterprise. So this is the crux of today's program. I thanks everyone. I thanks all participants, and I thanks Miji, Ashani, and Ravi for participating.
We hope that the courts in this country will protect our constitutional rights.
Yes. So I hope this will helpful to everyone who has given. Some people whose answer is not clear or they are not clear, you can write to us. We will give you reply separately. So friends, thank you very much. This journey of knowledge sharing will continue. Our next program, our 265th webinar on labor law, new labor code. The rules is passed and it is now complete. Law is in process, and we will meet again next Friday, 4 p.m. same time on Friday. Thank you very much.